UK politics have been in complete chaos for the last few weeks. More than 50 MPs have resigned and eventually has led to the resignation of the Prime Minister Boris Johnston. New MPs have been appointed into key roles that will affect housing. However, the question is, how is all this going to affect the property market? If you're watching my videos for the first time, my name is Saj Hussain, and on this channel I share with you my 15 plus years of property investing experience to ultimately help you get further faster in your own property investing business. With all the changes that have been going on, ultimately what this means, it creates uncertainty, and uncertainty is certainly not good for the economy. It'll have a negative impact, but more importantly for us, it'll also have a negative impact in the property market. Now, because so many key people have resigned from key posts in government, Boris has rushed to replace these. However, two key roles that impact us as property investors are: firstly, the appointment of Greg Clark as the new Secretary of State for Levelling Up, Housing and Communities, and also the appointment of Marcus Jones as the Minister of State for Housing at the Department of Levelling Up, Housing and Communities. Now, both of these seem to be positive moves as they seem to support business and landlords. However, the appointment of a new Prime Minister and the possibility of a general election on the cards, they seem like a positive move as they both seem to support businesses and landlords. The search is now on to find a new Prime Minister to lead the country. The challenge with that is when a new Prime Minister is appointed, it's very likely they'll assemble a new team and they'll move the old one to the side and there'll be new ministers appointed. And we'll probably be on our 12th housing minister within 12 years. Now, the frustration with that is many a time a minister is appointed to these roles, they're not necessarily from that background or have sector experience. So my concern is how much value can they really add in terms of the role that they're fulfilling. But right now, the immediate concern is who's going to lead the country, who's going to be the person that's going to be in charge. And we'll talk more about that towards the end of the video. What I want to focus on right now are which are the things that are going to impact us that we need to be aware of in terms of the housing sector. One of the first things we have to consider is with the appointment of a new Prime Minister, it'll also likely lead to an election probably within the next 9 months or so. And what that will mean is then again another period of uncertainty. Also, at the point even after an election, there may still be a period of uncertainty because there might be a changing tact, for example, on how the economy is run, on Brexit and various things. And all of these things again create uncertainty. Uncertainty creates fear, which leads to a period of inactivity. And especially with property investors not knowing what to do, they'll sit on their hands and do very little. An election could also mean an increase in government spending. And at a time where the government has a massive amount of debt, it doesn't really have the means to start spending more money. And so it creates more debt. That will lead to more inflationary pressures. Now, why is he going to be spending more money? Well, really, they want to win votes, so there'll be things like levelling up. They want to be the party that people vote for. If inflation continues to accelerate, it's likely the Bank of England will accelerate their program of increasing interest rates. At the moment, it's forecast that we'll have a 0.25% increase in August, then in February next year, then in May next year. But all that might get pulled forward and we might see a 0.25% increase in August, then another one in November and another one in February next year. This, coupled with the increase in public spending, is likely for the Bank of England to lead towards continuing its quantitative easing program, i.e. creating more debt. The pound is also at its weakest point since the Brexit referendum in 2016. With the announcement of Boris's resignation, there's a spike in the pound, indicating some confidence that actually a new leader is maybe the way to go. So what does this mean for the property market? Well, right now we're in this period of uncertainty, and it looks like this period of uncertainty is going to continue for some time, at least for several months. So often what happens at a period of uncertainty is it creates fear, and fear leads to inactivity. What that means is people are not really sure what to do, so they do nothing. And doing nothing, what ultimately happens in property is the market starts to slow down because it works on simple economics of supply and demand. As the demand starts to decrease, the supply will probably remain the same, and ultimately house prices will then start to slow down. Now, it doesn't look like there's going to be a huge crash. That's not what's likely to happen. However, it certainly looks like the market is going to lose its steam and start to cool. So what does that mean for you and I? Well, what we've been doing in our business is getting our projects completed, the ones that are nearly done, especially the ones that are to sell, so we can get them sold, clear the decks and have a fresh start. And the reason we want a fresh start and we want to do that now is because we see new opportunities that are going to come on the horizon as the market starts to change. When the market starts to slow down and people start feeling the pain of having less money in their pocket as well, there's uncertainty, the economy, inflation is running rampant, interest rates start to increase, people's mortgages become more expensive, they essentially have less money to spend. Those pressures are going to start to take effect. And when those pressures start to take effect, you'll start seeing changes in the housing market and new opportunities arising. What will happen in the housing market will be primarily dependent on who ends up running the country in about a year's time. As you may have heard me say many times before, the government has a big impact in terms of what happens to the housing market. The levers they pull, the buttons they push can massively increase the activity in the housing market or even slow it right down. They have a huge influence in what happens. So the new leader is really going to be the person that's going to determine what happens in the property market going forward. Their appetite to seeing it grow or slowing it down is going to be evident from the policies they put into place. So who is going to be the new leader? Well, right now at the point of filming, there's 11 people that put their hat into the ring, and it's a mixed bunch. They've got mixed experiences, they have mixed views in terms of how they should be running the country. Personally, I think the leader should be somebody that has a strong economic and banking background, somebody who really knows the market. My view is Rishi is probably one of the most strongest candidates for that role. But the question is, do the other MPs think that, and do the voting members of the Conservative Party think that that's the case? If you enjoyed these videos, I'd like to ask you a favour, and that's to click on my face here to subscribe to the channel. Also give the video a quick like as well. It really helps reaching more people. And if you want to get my views on what I think is going to happen to the property market this year, here's a video I shot earlier this year, just over here. So click on this or watch this next, and I'll see you there.